Okay, our next math lesson is titled Order of Operations. The acronym for the order of operations is called PEMDAS. Okay, and so we're going to figure out what does that mean and how do we use it to help us solve math equations. So, order of operations. First off, we need to remind ourselves, what is an operation? So an operation is a way to work with numbers. So either we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Those are our operations in math. And so to figure out the order of operations, there's a system in place, and the way that we remember that is through this acronym. So we can't just do any of these operations in any order and expect to get a correct answer. That's why there is a specific order that we need to remember. There's also some symbols that we use in math that help us to know to do something first before we do a different step. So parentheses come first. Okay, then we have something called exponents. Exponents you don't really need to worry about in 4th grade, but it is a part of PEMDAS and you will use it eventually, so just kind of keep it in the back of your mind. After we solve something that's in parentheses, then we do anything that deals with multiplication, so we multiply. Then we will do anything that deals with division, we will divide. Okay, the last two things that we can do is add and subtract. Now, you're like, well, how am I ever going to remember to do parentheses, then multiply and divide and add and subtract in that order? Well, just like does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers raw sticks in your mind, and hopefully you'll remember that for a long time, we hope that you'll also remember this. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, hopefully none of you have an Aunt Sally. If you do, that's kind of coincidental. And it's just a fun way to remember the order of operations. So PEMDAS is one way that you can remember if you can just remember PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is the other way. And then by writing out PEMDAS, then you can think, okay, P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponents, which we don't use in 4th grade, M stands for multiply, D stands for divide, A stands for add, and S stands for subtract. So we do things in this order as we go down. Okay, there are a couple things though that can change with PEMDAS. So PEMDAS should probably actually be written like this. Okay, and what this means is that we should always do parentheses first, then we should do exponents, which again, do not worry about in 4th grade. But then you can either multiply or divide next after you solve what's in the parentheses. So these can go either way. Same with add and subtract. It does not matter which order you do these two operations in, because these are what we call inverse operations. One undoes the other. Okay, so if we do 2 times 3 equals 6, I can do the inverse of that and do 6 divided by 3 equals 2 to get back to it. So because they're inverse operations, it does not matter what order we do. Okay, adding and subtracting are inverse operations as well. If I do 2 plus 3 equals 5, I can do 5 minus 3 equals 2 to get back to my original number. So with that all in mind, let's see what does this look like when we deal with some math problems. Okay, let's say that I have an equation that looks like this. 6 plus 2 times 7 minus 4. Now, our reading skills tell us to start at the 6 and work our way over until we get to 4. Order of operations tells us otherwise. So we need to see, are there any parentheses in this equation? As I'm looking here, I don't see any parentheses, so I can move on to the next step. Okay, Always skip exponents for now because you will not have exponents in 4th grade. So next I'm going to look to see if there's any multiplication. I do see a multiplication symbol here, so I'm going to draw a symbol here, and I'm going to solve just this part of the equation. So 2 times 7 is 14. Then I'm going to bring down everything else in the equation. Okay? Next up, I have adding and subtracting left, and if we look over here, I can do either or. So let's just kind of work our way over. 6 plus 14, that equals 20. And 20 minus 4, bring down what's left. 20 minus 4 equals 16. Now let's see what would have happened if I had done subtraction first. If I had done subtraction first, 14 minus 4 is 10. 10 plus 6 is 16. So again, either way, you can either add or subtract first. You can either multiply or divide first, but you have to multiply and divide before you add and subtract. Okay, so our final answer for this is going to be 16. Okay, let's do another example. What if I had a problem that looked like this? Okay, so again, I'm going to think about PEMDAS as I solve. P stands for parentheses, and I do have parentheses in this equation, so I'm going to do that first. 4 times 3 is 12. Bring down the rest of your equation. Okay, next, I'm going to look to see if there's anything to multiply. Well, honestly, there's only one step left, and that is to subtract. So I followed through with PEMDAS. 18 minus 2, or 18 minus 2, 18 minus 12 is 6. So that would be my final answer. Now, you notice I'm using these symbols to keep my work organized, to go from one step to the next, and I copy down and bring everything down. Yes, it's some writing to do, but it keeps your work organized and it helps you to better understand PEMDAS since this is the first time you're ever experiencing a topic like this. Okay, I highly, highly suggest that as you do your work, you are writing things down on paper as you solve these questions. Okay, we're going to do one more. What if I had 18 minus 3 times 5 minus 2? Okay, again, we have to think in terms of PEMDAS. We cannot just work from left to right like we do when we read. So I do not see any parentheses. Obviously, there's no exponents. M for my, please excuse my, M stands for multiplication. I do see some multiplication, so I'm going to do that first. 3 times 5 is 15. Bring down the rest of your problem. Okay, the only thing left to do is subtract. So in this case, I probably want to subtract from left to right. So 18 minus 15, I'm going to do that first. That is 3. Bring down the rest of our problem. 3 minus 2, I hope you know that one, is 1. Okay, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is the way that we remember the order of operations. Again, we do not use exponents in 4th grade, so you can just say, please, my dear Aunt Sally. Just take out the E for now, okay? You can write it off to the side and check it off as we go, just like we did whenever we did division. Okay, so no parentheses, check. Do I need to multiply? Check. No division. Okay, there was no addition, and I need to subtract. Okay, unlike division, you will only go through this process once. So you'll do all the parentheses first. Check. All the multiplication next. Check. Well, actually, you could do multiply or divide next. Okay, and then you should finish with addition and subtraction and be done. There's no round 2. Okay, so that is PEMDAS, order of operations. Good luck today.